Hi everyone. We've been working with Diigo and Diigo Outliner quite a bit, so I thought I would take a little bit of time to share with you some of the more, we'll call them advanced features of Diigo Outliner. And also, and perhaps more important, wanted to share with you some tips and strategies regarding privacy, especially if you create an outliner with bookmarks that you've privately annotated. Okay, and then you choose to share that outliner. So I want to show you what happens. So two things, some advanced features of the outliner and some tips on dealing with privacy. All right, so to illustrate these things, I have on the screen my outliner called Blockchain that I continue to work on as I continue my research on blockchain. But of course, as is my way, I have shared, using the share feature, shared the outliner with, the world, even though it's a work in progress. All right, so you can see on my version, my editable version, I have quite a few bookmarks. I have added bulleted notes that are independent of the bookmarks that I've added. All right, I will show you also this 7 indicates that there are 7 annotations on this particular bookmark. I can expand just those annotations to see them, and I can see the color coding of them. I can see, these are highlights and or sticky notes that I've added all with green. I can then click on this again and collapse those notes. All right. I can expand all of the annotations in the outliner by clicking on expand all, and notice how now there's a lot more color going on here because of all the annotations. All right. And I can collapse. All right. So there's a couple of things, and then just note also you can edit the title of your bookmark links. And this is independent of your bookmarks in your actual library now that it's on the outliner. So if you wanted to make the titles of the links tidier, the links will still be intact. You just might have a different way that you want to, organize your outliner that doesn't involve those specific titles. All right, I can think of a lot of reasons. I'll let you ponder on that. All right, so there's some basics. Now let me show you before we go any farther. Here is the publicly shared outliner. So this is in a different browser. You can see this shared outliner has been created by me. Okay, and as you note, all of the annotations and the color coding of those annotations, the sticky notes, the highlights, they all come through on the shared outliner. All right, so that's something to keep in mind. And we'll talk more about the privacy issue in just a second. All right, back to my editable version. It showed you can expand annotations, right? Another thing that you can do with individual annotations is you can convert them. So if you click on this convert button, all of the annotations under this bookmark will be converted to bullet notes. And that doesn't remove the annotations from the document that you annotated. This is independent of that. So you can convert these to bullet points, and then you can do stuff with them. That's important for privacy, and I'll show you more about that in a minute. Just know that that feature is there. All right, and then you can reload the annotations. If you've made actual changes on the bookmark document, for example, and then you could use this to refresh the page to get those new annotations to show up. All right, another thing that you can do is you can click on a bookmark, and that will open up a side drawer where you can see all of your you can see the entire article, and you can see all of your annotations, your highlights and your sticky notes in context. I find this very useful. And you can either scroll through this, you can drag the scroll bar, or you can use your scroll wheel if you have a mouse with a scroll wheel, or you can click on these little dots which indicate the different highlights and notes that you've added to the document. So really easy to bounce back and forth between your outliner and what's happening on your outliner. And I'll expand the annotations. What's happening on your outliner, okay? Oh, it's getting cranky. There we go. And the corresponding part in the article. All right, so that's really nice, right? And then you can expand the entire article and you could close it. But I wanted to point out, now that we're here, notice that I've highlighted this, collectively called Distributed Ledger Technologies. Now, in the original article, that Distributed Ledger Technologies, see how it's underlined? It was actually a link in the original article. Notice over here, collectively called Distributed Ledger Technologies. The link remains. So if you highlight a link in a document and you carry that annotation, you put that document link in an outliner, then that highlight brings the link with it. That's very nice, I think. It's very helpful. Okay. So once again, I highlighted it in the original document. It was a link, and then the annotation in the outliner, that link actually carries over because I highlighted it. Woohoo! Okay. But more important, here's now where we're getting into the public and private. Notice I have a sticky note there. You can see the little icon that identifies it as a sticky note. If I highlight over it, it's private. If I had shared this particular document while I was bookmarking it, and I shared it like to a group, this sticky note would not go with it because it's a private sticky note. I would have had to have done add a group note in order for it to go to the group. But because I've added this entire document to an outliner, which I then shared, that particular note in several of the more techie writings, right? Note in several of the more techie writings, it carries over to the outliner, and then it gets shared. All right, this may not be an issue for you. It's not an issue for me in general, although I do tend to add some pretty irreverent notes when I'm doing research because I like to entertain myself. So what happens, what do you do if you want to continue to take notes the way you take notes and you want to share an outliner at the end, but you don't necessarily want those, let's say, more colorful notes to carry over with the public share of the outliner? Woohoo! You can do that, all right? So let me close this window and we will find, okay, so here we go. Here's that private note in several of the more techie writings. Let's say I didn't want to share that, or more importantly, maybe I don't want to share this flippant comment that I actually wrote that I was being flippant about. Okay. So what do? Well, you convert all of your annotations to notes. Oh, let me call up side by side so you can see what happens. This does not impact when you do this. Missing DLT links. Okay, when I convert these annotations on my outliner, it's not going to impact the annotations on the actual document, okay? So I say convert. And now, check it out. These are all bullet points that I can edit and delete if necessary before I share the document with the world. Okay. Notice they're still here, but they're not on my outliner anymore. It's very important if you want to maintain the way you do things, but you want to control what you actually share. Just be aware that private sticky notes do carry over, but you can delete them. Okay. Now let's say that you go, darn it, I didn't want it. That's not the one I wanted to convert to the bullet points. I'm missing all my colorful annotations, and those mean so much to me. Well, you can go back over here and you can click on this, and now you have your annotations back. Okay. Now there's still the bullet notes. They're still there in the document, which are now duplicates. A few questions. They're duplicates of your annotations, so you'll have to do some tidying up, but you can get the annotations back. All right. Okay, so let's just very quickly go over that again, just so we've got everything under control. You can collapse and expand all of the annotations, or you can collapse and expand individual annotations. You can edit the title of the link independent of the actual article that's in your library. You can convert your annotations, and you can refresh your annotations here. Your annotations all do carry over to the public version, so you need to be careful about what is on this outliner before you share it. In order to do that, you can convert them, but you might want to click on the link so that you could see the annotations in context, and then handle the annotations one by one as necessary. And again, what you do in your outliner is independent from the actual annotated bookmark that you saved. Okay, so there you go. Some advanced managing features in Outliner, and some ways to deal with being able to take private and public notes on your bookmarks, but choose to share only the ones you want by converting your annotations to text bullets and then getting rid of the ones you don't want to share. All right, I hope that helps. I hope that you are finding this a valuable tool to use. I know I do. And that's all I have. Thanks, and take care.